third speaker, he explained to me that originally, a bit like Jivadharma, Brajanath in the Jivadharma, he started out as a Swami in the impersonal path, and then he met Srila Prabhupada in 1977 and joined ISKCON the very following year. He lives in Alachua. He met Srila Gurudeva in 2009 and really didn't hang about because he took Harinam and Diksha pretty much immediately after meeting Srila Gurudev. So maybe he should be called Brajanath rather than Shringa, but I love the name of Shringa. Sriman Shringa Das, I welcome you from Alachua. Very, very warm welcome. We look forward to hearing your beautiful Pushpanjali. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Well, first, of course, I would like to offer my obeisances, heartfelt obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Srila Bhakti-Vedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj, who has lifted me up from the pit. And actually, that's, my hog-like mentality wants to stay there. But the last few days that you have put on here have just been unbelievable. And just hearing just now from my old friend Mahabodhi Prabhu, I'm just stunned, so inspired. I've known him for years and I've never heard anything like what he was just sharing. He's just, he's just this treasure box, treasure trove. And I'm so grateful for these last few days. It's been an incredible festival, so inspiring, so much, the proper combination of Guru Tattva, of Tattva Vichar and Rasa Vichar, all these personal relationships. Both things have to be there together, just like Srila Prabhupada also told us, religion and philosophy, one without the other is incomplete. Religion without philosophy, it's just sentiment. Philosophy without religion, it's so dry. So these explanations of Guru Tattva inside of the experiences the devotees had, I could listen to this all day. I'm so grateful for what you've provided. So thank you for that. So, Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandaya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Sriman Bhakti-Vedanta Narayana iti namane. So I want to share a little of my coming to Srila Prabhupada because it's inseparable from my coming to Srila Gurudev and my experience with Srila Gurudev. And in a real sense, when I really think about my life, most of it is just reels of illusion, just things happening, going places, doing things, all useless, all meaningless, all temporary, all not very deep, not very tasteful. But there are moments of reality, moments when we meet the Guru and we have exchange with the Guru. And those are real. And everything else is just noise. It's just noise in the way. So really, even though so many years went by between my meeting Srila Prabhupada and meeting Srila Gurudev, in the real sense, it's just one moment to the next. So Mahabodhi Prabhu's point about how we do not go to the Guru comes to us, it is so, so profound. But of course, it seems to us like, well, we're the doers. We're doing it. We're off to see the Guru. So I got completely frustrated with life, everything in England when I was a young teenager. And at 21, I gave up everything and I went to India to find my Guru. And that was it. As far as I was concerned, I was going to India and they'd never hear of me again over here. That's just fine by me in England. Didn't quite go like that, but I did indeed meet a guru, mystic guru, because just like Mahabodhi Prabhu said, if you have desire to be cheated, then, or to cheat, you'll be cheated. So Guru gives us so many experiences that we need to have to teach us, to purify us, to test us, all different reasons, but ultimately to bring us to him. So I was with one guru in one ashram, yogic mystic ashram, for a couple of years. At a very young age, I was given a swamiship, as it were. We followed very strict principles. And so many mystic experiences were there. But although I had that desire, I really had some desire to meet God, to find God, to know God. And anyway, at the Kumbh Mela in 1977, I was getting so much attention from my guru and his guru, who was, anyway, no need to mention that. And they had been preparing me to come to the West to be a teacher here on their behalf, to bring their movement to the West. At that time, I was the only Western student. And one morning, I had some extraordinary experiences there. And I bathed at Gangaji very, very early. If I remember rightly, it was Makar Sankranti. And Srila Prabhupada, I found out later, he'd also been there early that day in Gangaji, Jamunaji, Sangam, Saraswatiji. And in the morning, I suddenly had this profound urge. Today is the day I'm going to begin my mission. I'm going to bring this mission to the world, and I will begin by going to the camps of the different leading gurus and yogis and swamis who have already got so much reputation. I will challenge them. I will defeat them. Oh my goodness, it's so ludicrous. But I will defeat them, and in this way begin my mission. And I will begin with this Swami Prabhupada, because he's so big in the Western world. He has so many Western followers, and they don't know the real India. This is my extraordinary arrogance and illusion. I discovered not that long after that actually the devotees, Prabhupada's devotees, Western devotees, they knew more about India, Indian culture than anybody. But, I was just seeing so offensively and materially, they all look the same. They will get the haircut and the clothing, and they just, they've given up their individuality. They're just buying into it wholesale. And so I thought, yes, what is he teaching? So I just filled my mind with classic impersonal foolishness. How can you imagine that God, unlimited, supreme, all-pervasive being, how can you contain him in some deity, some small object that has an inside and an outside? This is foolish. Obviously, the deity is just a symbol, just a focus point. And in the same way, the mantra, this mantra, Krishna, this name has a beginning, ka, and an end, a. It's just a little thing. So I was 21, 22, 23 years old. I've been practicing austerities for some time, receiving so much from my teachers, Shakti, so on and so forth. Very fired up and just filled with this mood that I was going to challenge this Swami teaching, this symbolic kind of immature or very neophyte, whatever. You can understand how gross my mentality was from speaking like this. So undeserving. So anyway, I went to see Srila Prabhupada. I came to the camp and I asked, where is your Swami? And they had a big pandal, and next to the pandal, a little tent. And in fact, I had to duck to enter the tent. And I ducked down, and just understand, I was very, very full of so much passion to challenge Prabhupada. My mind is full of all this argumentation, everything. I entered this world and something happened. I didn't even realize what was happening, but I immediately sat down. And there were about 12 Indian people there coming to see Prabhupada. And I just quietly sat down. And one Indian gentleman said, Swamiji, what is meaning of Bhagavad Gita? And Prabhupada answered something along the lines of, so everybody wants to know who is God. How do I come to God? How do I find God? How do I know God? God himself is speaking. He is telling. And I thought, oh, very clear, very simple. I cannot argue with that. And that was actually the last conscious thought I had. And I just sat there. I was mesmerized by Prabhupada. He was sitting on this low Indian cot, charpai, very low, and he was very effulgent. He had this very effulgent light saffron dress. It was so effulgent because he was so effulgent. And I was mesmerized. I was just looking at him. And everybody else, one after another, they disappeared until it was just me and Prabhupada. Even his servant was not in the room. And I just looked up at Prabhupada. And he looked at me. And everybody knows Prabhupada had a gesture where his chin would go up and his eyebrows would go up, but his eyes would stay looking at you. And usually at the same time he would do this, he would go, or so, what have you got to say? With me, he didn't say anything. He didn't or so, he just went. And I'm looking at him. I had nothing to say, not a word. And I couldn't look at him very long because he was so high and I was so low and I felt it. And I just looked down and I felt and I thought, if I could stay the rest of my life at these feet, I would be very, very satisfied, happy. I wouldn't want anything more. And Prabhupada let me stay like this for a few minutes in his presence. And then he turned to a disciple, said, oh, give him some prasad. And he dismissed me. So I did not understand exactly what he'd done. Over time, I realized he had defanged me without a word. He'd taken that impersonalism out of my heart, completely defeated me. I hadn't a word to say. Not only that, over the next year, I went through different experiences in which, even though I was receiving so much from my gurus, I realized I didn't want to stay there anymore. And I became filled with the urgency. I have to find God. I have to know who's God. I have to serve God. How can I serve God if I don't know who is God? And in this way, later on, I realized Prabhupada had given me the seed of bhakti, to look for bhakti. But I had made many offenses. I had many, many cheating desires. So many years had to go by. I joined ISKCON. I became a disciple of an unqualified person. I went through so many experiences. And after those, I just thought, Prabhupada is my guru. I want nothing to do with this institution. I have friends there. I'll go see them occasionally. I just want my private spiritual life and my relationship with Prabhupada. And so many years went by. And then I heard simultaneously from two very dear friends. One was local Guru Prabhu, an old Prabhupada disciple who I'd known for so many years, since as long as I'd known Mahabodhi, practically speaking. And from our days at New Vrindavan, Mahabodhi went there, I think, shortly after I did. I went there in 1980, I think, when I left Vrindavan. For a little while, he was there. And Jagadish Prabhu, who was very young when he came to New Vrindavan, and then after some time, he was very fortunate. He went to Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and he became his Diksha disciple. And then later on, I discovered he had become very fond, very attached to Srila Gurudev. So both of them were calling me at the same time. Nishanga, Srila Narayana Maharaj has come. You should go to see him. He's very senior, beloved Vaishnav, and he's very old. And if you don't see him now, you might not get another chance. And I thought, why not? Why not? Maybe he can answer my question. And my question related to when I joined ISKCON in Vrindavan in 78, I had an incredible dream in which, this is not very significant here, but the end of the dream was, I was sitting in front of my guru, my eternal spiritual master, and I was weeping and weeping and weeping that I had been separated from him for so long. I'd forgotten him, and I was holding his feet, and I was begging him that he would never let me forget him again. He would never push me away. But he was so effulgent, I could only see his feet. Above his feet, everything was just brilliant golden color. I couldn't look. So I couldn't see his features, but it was my guru. And I was begging him in different ways. And he stopped me. And he said, you are full of material desire. And I accept you. And I assumed this was Prabhupada. And after going through the whole guru trip in ISKCON, again, I was thinking it's Prabhupada. But I didn't know because I hadn't seen him. And I thought, I'll go and see Narayana Swami Maharaj, because he is such a senior person, such an elevated soul. He would be able to tell me for sure if this was Prabhupada. So this was my thinking. And I came to Houston. And as soon as I entered, not even entered, the devotees were all at this wonderful compound. If I remember rightly, it was a Durga temple, the Hindu community, but they were very fond of Srila Gurudev, and they'd given their whole huge facility for this ceremony, this festival, in which the cornerstone laying of the new temple, Gurudev's new temple, was going to be performed. Anyway, as soon as I approached, just looking through the gates, it was incredible. I saw and felt loving relationships between devotees that I had not seen for decades. So when I first came to Prabhupada, and when I came to Vrindavan, he had only been gone a short while. The mood, there was so much there, was so clear. And I saw sannyasis laughing, patting the heads of children, and being close with Matajis in a very respectful but loving way. I saw all the devotees loving and laughing and enjoying each other regardless of ashram. And I thought, oh, this is special. If there is such fruit, then there must be some very special tree here. So I can see that Yashodanandana Prabhu is getting ready to move, so I will try to make this very quick, my meeting with Srila Gurudev.
So you're good, Prabhu. You're good. Don't rush. You're great.
All right. All right. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So I thought to myself, oh, there must be a very special tree here, because there's some very sweet fruit. I could understand. And very shortly afterwards, somehow I made my way to the house where Gurudev was staying. Very beautiful house. One dear devotee of his, doctor, very successful, extraordinary place. And I went there, and the first person I met was Padmanabha Maharaj. And we must have some previous connection, not from this life, but instantly we had so much affection towards each other. And we were just speaking and speaking for ages. He said, I will get you a private darshan with Srila Gurudev. You should have this. So stay here and I will go and arrange. But it didn't happen. I'm there all day and just waiting to have this darshan with Gurudev. This is all I can think. I'm going to see him. It didn't happen. And I was there hours and hours. And Maharaj invited me to have lunch with the devotees and everything. And finally, Gurudev came down the stairs. And by this time, there's a lot of devotees. Must have been 100, maybe 200. So many devotees fitting in this room, this big, big room. And I went in, and somehow or other, I'm sitting in front of Gurudev's chair, like directly in front, only a few rows back. And I'm sitting there, and it's packed, and devotees at the side. And Gurudev's asking for question, and it looks like he's looking at me. And so, everybody's sitting down, and so I stand up. It just feels like an appropriate act of respect. If everybody's sitting, then I should stand like that. I don't want to be on the same level. I don't mean higher than, I just mean if he's sitting, I should not sit. I should not have that. So I stood up, and everybody's sitting, and Gurudev looks a little puzzled, and Brajanath, no, not you, not you. And so I'm feeling now wonderfully, completely embarrassed because I've stood up and it's nothing to do with me, right? So what am I, the whole room full of devotees and everybody's seated and looking, and who is this big, elephant standing up? So I sat down feeling like a complete idiot, which of course is the most wonderful prepping to meet the Guru. And this Indian gentleman asked a question in Hindi, and Gurudev is speaking, I presume Hindi, back and forth, and then they finished. And then Gurudev, and then Brajanath looks at me, now you. So again, I get up, and I say, Swamiji, I'm feeling, I don't know what to call him. That's just the proper respect for, my background. So Swamiji, I came to Srila Prabhupada so many years ago, and I had a dream. And then Brajanath starts to translate. I did not know that Gurudev could only understand English once it's been mutilated by a Dutch accent. So I'm, it was a very interesting experience. Gurudev looking at me puzzled, like not understanding a word, and looking at Brajanath to explain what I'm saying. And back then my English accent was not damaged by many years living in America. Well, actually it was quite damaged, but I put it on again that day to speak proper English. And so I said, so when I came, I had a dream, and Brajanath explained, and then I began to explain the dream. And Brajanath is repeating everything I'm saying, so I can hear what I'm saying to Gurudev. And so I thought I'd gone there with this question about a dream. And after only a moment, Brajanath was saying, beginning the dream, and I looked at Gurudev, and I looked at Brajanath, I went, no, no, no. And at that moment, Gurudev is letting me know why I've come here, to be with him that day. I'm just looking at him, and I don't know what happened. And of course, everybody who's been with Gurudev has heard and seen these stories countless times when he just opens the heart, just opens the heart. And I look at him, and now he's just looking at me. And believe it or not, I perhaps I wasn't close enough. I didn't see that his eyes were blue or any color. All I knew was this gaze. It was like being with Prabhupada again. It was just the same. And everything, everyone disappeared. It's just me and this saint, excuse me. And I'm looking at him, and I'm starting to weep uncontrollably. And I said, I have been trying to be a devotee for almost 35 years now. And I still don't know who I am, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just crying. And he's looking at me and he said, I will help you. I will give you shiksha, and tomorrow I will give you mantras. And I'm just like shocked and home again, just home. And a little later, I was with Sajjan Swami, and I said, I don't know what happened. I didn't come here looking for a guru. I have no idea what happened. And the next day I went and I received my mantras from Gurudeva, Harinam mantras. And then the next morning I went on a morning walk with him. And I'm way at the back, very happy to be there. I didn't feel I had any right to be any closer. But I had to ask a question. So I came to him and I said, Chakudani Liluye, Janme, Janme, Prabhu say. So are you my eternal spiritual master? Is the spiritual master the same person? Because I so desperately wanted this personal relationship. And he called Padmanabha Maharaj over and he said, tell him. Because obviously Gurudeva's been asked this question so many times. So Padmanabha Maharaj explained that Guru is one, that whole, and the same Guru, he's just like Prabhupada said in his Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in 1936. He said, Guru is one, he appears in unlimited forms in order to give each person in every time and every place. So, okay, I'm thinking like that. But I'd already said to Gurudev, I have a problem because for so many years, I've been worshiping Prabhupada. I've been meditating on Prabhupada. I've been thinking of Prabhupada as my guru, and I've been giving what love I have to Prabhupada. And now you've given me mantras, you're my guru, but I don't know how I can transfer my heart to you. I don't, and I just don't know how to do this. So Gurudev, all right, like that. And so Padmanabha spoke, and then I went back again. And we're walking. And then after 2 minutes, Gurudev stopped. And he said, he looked around, where is that boy? I always have to laugh. Prabhupada and Gurudev, they always refer, doesn't matter how old we are, we're always boys. Where is that boy? Where's that little child? Where is that boy? Oh, come on, come on. And he looked at me and he said, that's all right. You can do like that, no problem. And I knew what he was saying. You can continue to worship Prabhupada. You can see him as your guru, no problem. And I thanked him and I went back. And I realized that what happened was because he had absolutely nothing except desire to help me. No care, oh, you worship me, you think I'm your guru. He's already accepted me as disciple. He's actually my guru now. He's not attached to even I think of him as my guru. I worship him as my guru. No attachment at all. No need to have disciples, to be nothing. No obstacle. And in that, literally overnight, because of how he was, just automatically, naturally, the next day I discovered my heart had gone to him, that he was my Prabhupada. And I could say many other things, but one little thing, one memory. When I saw him in Bhaja, the next Bhaja Fest, I didn't touch his feet. He was walking by and I felt, I can't. I'm not qualified. I'm too low. I'm too dirty. I don't know him. I have to serve him. And I didn't touch his feet. Everybody's touching his feet. And later I'm thinking, what kind of fool am I? So then the next year I'm at Govardhan. This is where I met you, actually, at Mayapur also. And one day there, I'm with Padmanabha Maharaj, and he said, let's go and see Gurudev. And he's in that bed, you know, because we're thinking these are his departure pastimes. Padmanabha Maharaj just takes me with him. And we go back there, and Brajanath Prabhu is there, and Madhava Maharaj is Prabhu, and is there, and I think a doctor, and they all start talking together, and Gurudev's just lying there, and I'm there, and his feet are there. And I go, this is my chance. And I just placed my head, his feet on my head, and I held his feet, and I thanked him. And of course, that was his grace to me. He was giving me that opportunity. And then, you know, of course, the day when we're all terrified that he's going to leave, the day of Srila Bhamana Maharaj's disappearance, I think it was disappearance, came, and he didn't leave. And we're all thinking, he's staying. Because it was very clear, he's going to, if he's going to leave, he's going to leave then, because he's so linked to his god brothers, Srila Vaman Raj, Srila Trivikram Maharaj. They all do everything together. They come and go together. He didn't leave. Everybody's so happy, so relieved. And the next day, Gurudev comes out in the wheelchair. He's wheeled out in front of his room on that little porch, and we're sitting there, and there's kirtans, and it's just incredible environment, because only days before, I mean, I remember when I came to Govardhan, to the mutt then, and just coming up the stairs, you could feel the ocean, the waves of the ocean of intense sadness and separation and longing and love for Gurudev. And walking into the temple room that's filled with devotees. And as soon as I walked in, I fell to my knees, crying. All the devotees crying. And there's a video screen of Gurudev. He's just laying there, and every now and again he's coming back to external consciousness, and hand is coming up. He's blessing us, and he's looking at us, and then so there's been such an intense mood, and now he's not left. He's gonna stay with us. He's gonna be with us. And he said, so I want you all to come to Mayapur, and I will see you there. Jai Gurudev! We're all blissed out. And then sometime later, I was in Udupi doing some panchakarma. I had my wife at that time and daughter there. Oh, one thing I have to say in that regard, they'd come to India with me. It was in fact my then wife's, ex-wife's idea. We go to India. We, you know, all kinds of terrible things that happened. I lost my work, no money, everything, sell the house, use whatever money to go to India. And I was astonished. This wasn't our idea. She wasn't a devotee, nothing. And she had no desire to be a devotee. But when we came to Govardhan and we went up the stairs to the temple room that first time, she was ahead of me, and I saw her fall to her knees ahead of me and start crying with what was the mood there. And she just found herself, Padmanabha Maharaj said, would you like to take initiation? It blew my mind. Yes, she wanted. So she and my daughter then said, I want. And they both received Harinam, which is very, very wonderful for them, of course. So we're all in Udupi together, and suddenly I hear Gurudev has left, and I cannot believe it. And I called Padmanabha Maharaj, and I was angry. I said he promised that he would see us in Mayapur. And my last thing to say, Padmanabha Maharaj laughed ruefully. He said, Narasimha. He said, come to Mayapur, he will see you in Mayapur. He never said you will see him. And I understood something that now we hear. Gurudeva said, I'm closer to you than the air you breathe. He is always, every moment with us. I'm just a fool because I'm almost never with him. But he's always with us. He's never left us. Never, before we even heard of him, he's never left us. This is an eternal, transcendental relationship, has nothing to do with material time, past, future, never present. He's always here, and I'm so grateful to you, Yashodhana Prabhu, for these days of reminding by hearing all the devotees like Mahabodhi Prabhu, hearing Kishori and Sudevi most mornings now, this constant dip in the nectarian ocean of the pastimes and the instructions of our eternal Gurudev. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripasindhuveva cha, Patitanam, Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Gurudev, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you've literally put me on top of a volcano just before it erupts, and the volcano erupted, and I'm in like the outer space of total bliss and pain at the same time. You should really have a health warning on your guitar. It's not good for the blood pressure.
I'm a complete fool. I simply was listening to devotees like Mahabodhi. I'm just sharing something that they're giving me. That's all.
It's so beautiful. I just want to check with you about the Brajanath story. Did he mutilate your English or mutate it, or both?
No, I said mutilate.
But probably mutate it too, right?
Mutilated with a Dutch accent. Mutated too. Love Brajanath.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God, what a sweetheart.
I mean, one thing that comes to my mind immediately is just how privileged we are every week to be listening to these Pushpanjalis. I mean, I feel like I've always felt like the Forrest Gump of the spiritual life, you know, and this just confirms that, you know. I think 90% of life is turning up. If you don't know anything, you just turn up. Eventually, you're going to get it. I feel incredibly privileged to be listening to devotees like Anandini and Mahabodhi and yourself today. And I know Yashodhara feel. I know I'm speaking. She's nodding. Yeah, she doesn't always nod at what I say, but she's definitely nodding now. She's nodding. Yes, totally. We feel really privileged. And every week we say similar. This next sentence, which is every week. We think it can't get any better. It gets better. And yet, if I compare any week to any other week, you can't say which is better. So it doesn't make any logical sense, but it's just extraordinary. And I'm so happy we're doing another, if my maths is right, another 44 of these. It's incredible. Yes. And when you started out with your story about how Prabhupada defeated you without even saying a word, it reminded me of a Chaitanya Charitamrita story, you know, like where Lord Chaitanya just completely defeats everybody in every single pastime of debate. But in this case, Prabhupada didn't even have to say a word. That was beautiful. And you also mentioned about the loving relationships. And I think this is where the real Vaishnava work needs to take place over the next 10 years, is on really understanding how do we put our Sarup Siddha Bhakti into our Jiva to Jiva relationships, and then how do we use our Jiva to Jiva relationships to support the Swarup Siddha Bhakti? Because seriously, the theater of the human to human, well, it's actually not just human to human, it's also human to animal. The living entity relationship is a testament, is a marker of where we are with Krishna. If we're not getting on with our fellow men and women, how can we say that we're serving God? It doesn't make any sense. But it's beautiful what you shared with us. And I loved it when you said something about you, when you're on that stage, you know, you realize you knew nothing. And it's beautiful to be in that place. Someone else mentioned about don't be hopeless, but it's be helpless, but don't be hopeless. Be helpless, but don't be hopeless. Because when we're helpless, we know how to beg. And when we beg, we know how to be humble. When we know how to be humble, we're surrendering to Guru, who can then inject that arrow-tipped Chladini Shakti into our heart. So we can be helpless, but never, never hopeless. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for sharing your beautiful, beautiful Pushpanjali. I really has been a stunning day. All three speakers have been totally stunning.